Taiwan achieves record 200 days with no local coronavirus cases. Taiwan marks 200 days without domestic COVID-19 infection. Taiwan, 200 days without local transmission. So, to Taiwan's government and to you 340,000 people who sacrificed 14 days of your life in quarantine on behalf of the rest of us 23 million people, I just want to say thank you. New York Times, The Guardian, Bloomberg, The Wall Street Journal, Al Jazeera, The Washington Post, CNN, Yahoo Finance, and the Norwegian FUHE. This week, the entire world is talking about Taiwan, just like it has for the past 200 days. Hi everyone and welcome back to another video. My name is Lukas, and as most of you know, I recently started this new video series where I'm talking about Taiwan related news in global media. If you didn't know, and this is the first time we're seeing each other on YouTube, please consider hitting that subscribe button, so not only you will stay notified for my future video releases, you will also show your support and encourage me to continue making videos about Taiwan. To prepare for a video like this, normally I spend a few hours scouting the internet, see if I can find some Taiwan related news from international media around the globe, and then afterwards I spend another few hours trying to organize it, putting it all together, so I have this very nice package, which is this video for you week after week, which hopefully is informative but also somewhat entertaining as well. But for this video I pretty much had to spend the same amount of hours just trying to select which international news I should mention in this video, because I saw hundreds if not thousands of different international news media mentioning Taiwan. As if that was not enough, they're all talking about the exact same thing, which is April 12th. April 12th, it was a Sunday, a very sunny Sunday here in Taiwan, I might add, as I was on a boat down in southern Taiwan, having just a wonderful weekend together with some of my closest friends. On the other side of the world and news spectrum, US had just recently surpassed Italy in number of COVID-19 related deaths. The Italian opera singer Andrea Bocelli was trending on Twitter as he was delivering a powerful concert in an empty cathedral in the COVID-19 ravaged Italy. And Taiwan had, at the time of recording this video, its last local COVID-19 case. That was 200 days ago, and who would have known at the beginning of this year that just simply being able to live your normal life for 200 straight days would make headline news all around the world? Because to be honest, that is what we have been able to be doing here in Taiwan, just living our normal lives. And if I'm being brutally honest, my life here in Taiwan pretty much hasn't changed at all since the beginning of this year. And I really don't want to upset or offend anyone who I know must be going through the most devastating time of our entire lifetime. But here in Taiwan, for me, my absolute personal life just hasn't changed that much. 1. I need to wear a face mask when I take public transportation. 2. I get my temperature checked in all kinds of places. And 3. I have received more free hand sanitizers this year than I have seen in my entire life before 2020. And when I call back home, I FaceTime with my mom on a weekly basis. Sometimes I miss it because I'm out traveling, which my mom is very quick with commenting on Monday morning when I haven't give her that weekly call. Sorry mom, I'll give you a call as soon as I'm finished recording this video. I'm realizing that the life as I know it back home in Sweden also really hasn't changed that much. Sweden, as you may know, is pretty much the only other country except Taiwan who has never had any lockdown at all. But not only that, my parents still live in the house where I grew up, in the countryside of the Swedish countryside. Pretty much, and I'm not trying to be funny here, kind of felt like a quarantine my first 15 years of growing up. All the governments in the world is recommending 1.5 meters of social distancing, but how about 150 meters of social distancing to your closest neighbor? And the governments also recommend to only visit the grocery stores to buy the absolute essentials. Believe me when I say that if you have 8 kilometers of dirt road through the Swedish forest, you kinda just stick to buying the absolute essentials anyway. My point is, I'm spoiled, and believe me, I'm very well aware of how spoiled and lucky I am that I get to continue living my normal life here in the wonderful country of Taiwan, which according to literally everyone else in the entire world, including Agoda, which we talked about in the previous video, is the best country in the world right now. And with that, every single nation and health organization in the world, except ironically the World Health Organization, is watching, studying, analyzing and learning from Taiwan right now. But what should the rest of the world learn from Taiwan exactly? That's something we're gonna talk about in the rest of this video, and I know that myself and pretty much every other YouTuber from Taiwan has already made a video about this topic, but this is actually what the entire rest of the world is talking about Taiwan this week, so it is definitely worth repeating once again. So out of all the hundreds, if not thousands articles about Taiwan's success with COVID-19, I decided to pick out this article from Time, which I will link in the description below as well, because I think that this article best summarizes the key factors to the Taiwan success, and this is also something that I just, as a normal citizen just living here in Taiwan, has somewhat been impacted of as well. Number one, which I think is the most reported thing out in the global news media as well, is the border control. Not only did Taiwan close the borders to China and Wuhan district in particular super fast, even before China themselves started changing any border controls, they also were very fast with just closing the country altogether for any kind of foreign visitors. And as a foreigner living in Taiwan, I still remember when I heard that all the borders were closed, and my first initial thought was like, what, like, is this a prison now? Am I stuck here? Can I not leave? Like, what is going on? This was the first time I ever heard about a country completely closing all their borders basically from one day to another, the country where I was in at the time. And I mean, I'm still here. I don't want to leave, but just knowing that there might be trouble leaving the country and then coming back again. And I remember thinking like, what is going on, Taiwan? Like, calm down. The rest of the world, no problem. All the borders, all the stores are still open. There is no toilet paper anymore, but all the borders, all the stores still open. Come on, Taiwan, relax. Well, of course, as we all know, the Taiwan government did absolutely everything right, and the only people that should relax are the so far 340,000 people who have spent 14 days each in quarantine, even if they tested negative. You see, the second thing is that Taiwan implemented something that almost no other countries were able to, at least not as successful as Taiwan. Not only was Taiwan super fast with implementing a 2-week quarantine period, they were also digitally tracing their mobile phones through cellular signals, so they always knew where everyone were when they were supposed to be in quarantine. And in addition to this, the Taiwan government also conducted contact tracing, which means that they were able to track down and pinpoint pretty much everyone that this person had been in contact with before going into quarantine. On average, they were able to track down 20 to 30 people, and in some extreme cases, they were able to track up to 150 people that one person had come in contact with before going into quarantine herself. While some other countries in this scenario would have put this one person into quarantine and then just casually asked everyone else to stay at home, the Taiwan system is to put every single one of the 150 people in quarantine, even if they tested negative. Now, some people, myself included to be honest, might say that this is a little bit too extreme, but someone who did not say this was Chen Zhenren, the former vice president. Instead, he said, "We sacrificed 14 days of 340,000 people in exchange for normal lives for 23 million. So, to Taiwan's government and to you 340,000 people who sacrificed 14 days of your life in quarantine, on behalf of the rest of us 23 million people, I just want to say thank you." But I also think that it's important to be 100% transparent, so I should actually say 339,000, because around 1,000 of everyone who was supposed to be in quarantine has actually been fined by the Taiwan government for breaking the quarantine or just simply leaving quarantine a little bit too early. But as I said, the Taiwan government has then implemented fines up to 1 million Taiwan dollars. So they make sure that everyone realizes the seriousness and how important it is that you actually stay in quarantine if you have been directed to do so. But that also means that 99.7% of every Taiwanese and also a few foreign visitors that has been told to stay 14 days in quarantine have actually followed the rules and done so, which is impressive to say the least. And speaking about impressive things, the third thing is the mask production and distribution. But I have to be honest, the first time I heard about this, my thoughts went straight back to a history book I read growing up, which was about the Second World War and where the government had made the same kind of regulations on food and you were only able to buy a certain amount of bread every day. So in my head at that time, when I heard about the government stepping in and stopping and regulating all the masks, I immediately got a worst case scenario with all kinds of international and civil war scenarios in my head. Sadly, that is actually the reality in some countries. But here in Taiwan, they use the same principle, the same system, but they just solved it tremendously and started to ration out the number of masks you could buy in order to prevent a similar effect as the famous toilet paper shortage of 2020. The first wave, you were only able to buy 3 masks per week, and then as production were able to caught up under the supervision of the government at this time, we are now back to full supply, and not only is every single one in Taiwan able to buy pretty much as many masks as they want right now, Taiwan is now also exporting and producing masks for pretty much every other country in the world right now. And as if that was not enough, some private companies here in Taiwan has now also started to produce reusable and more environmental friendly masks with replaceable filters as well. Meanwhile, back home in Sweden, our state epidemiologists also have been making headlines all around the world, as Sweden, up to this point, also never has had a lockdown. Mr. Tegnell has actually done the opposite and actively advised people not to wearing a mask, as it might lead to false sense of security, and I quote, "It is very dangerous to try to believe that masks are a silver bullet." He has also mentioned that countries that have masks are not doing the best right now. But Anders, if you're watching this, I just want to tell you that the country that is actually doing the best right now are wearing masks. They have pretty much always been wearing masks this year, and not only that, they are more or less responsible for producing the masks for everyone else around the world. So I hope that one day, not only will the entire rest of the world read about the success story of Taiwan, I hope that the entire rest of the world will start using these face masks from Taiwan. I hope that the rest of the world will follow the Taiwan model, and I also sincerely hope that the entire rest of the world will also go 200 straight days without any local COVID-19 cases. That was everything I had to share this time. Thank you all so much for watching, and no matter where you are in the world, I hope that you're safe, stay positive, but test negative. My name is Lukas, starts with L as in like, ends with S as in subscribe. Please do both, and I'll see you in the next one.